Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Fri-Date episode with the wife. In these episodes, my wife and I offer an entrepreneurial couple's perspective on living a life by design instead of default. Hopefully, we'll make you laugh as we navigate the ups and downs of working together, being entrepreneurs and being parents. You may want to check out our private member community over on Patreon, where you'll get additional unfiltered content like our Fri-Date on the fly episodes and get ad-free access to all our podcasts and our monthly Zoom. If you want to check it out, head over to patreon.com/Fri-Date. That's F-R-I-D-A-T-E, no dashes, or click on the link in the show notes. All right, let's get into today's episode. Kimberly San Benedetto, Murgatroyd, how are you today?
Where exactly did that one come up? The water? Oh, it's the name of the water?
Yeah.
You're so creative.
Thank you.
You just look down and see Kimberly, Nike, Murgatroyd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sometimes I do. Do you have an idea after 500 of these? You know how difficult it is to find something interesting to say?
You want to quit?
Hello?
Hi.
Is the caller there?
Is the caller there?
That is not why we're here today. We are here today to talk to our Lord, Kimberly Murgatroyd.
God, I was like, where is this going?
Okay, so for those of you that track my wife, or that sounded weird. For those of you that
What the hell is happening?
like I just had this vision of like a hunter going trapping you in the woods. For those of you that follow my wife on social media, you'll notice that there's been a shift in her messaging, and I wanted to talk about that with her today. So our brand sort of together collectively is about living your dream life, and it's about playing bigger. And if you haven't listened to our Playing Bigger podcast episode, go back and listen to this episode, this Fri-Date right before it, where we talked about that. But Kim, you had an awareness recently, and you realized that, as a mom, you wake up and you got this kid that's in the bedroom next to you, and you got to do something with her, right? You gotta raise it. You gotta talk to it. You gotta water it.
Sound more like your recent awareness.
You gotta.
I've been fully aware of that one since she was born.
You gotta feed it.
Yeah.
You gotta teach it. And you started to realize that a lot of the principles that we've learned in personal development and things that, we've sort of racked our head against the wall personally, that these are skill sets that make sense to teach more formally our younger one. And if you haven't listened to the episode we did with our older daughter, go back to the episode before the last one where we interviewed Demi. And which is our 24-year-old, and she talked about things that by osmosis she learned from growing up in our home. So you made a decision to start talking to children about living their dream life. And I guess my first question to you is why?
Well, I'm not really talking to the children. I'm talking to the parents of the children, because the children don't listen to my podcast and most likely aren't Googling how to build a dream life. But actually, it was the conversation with Demi that gave me clarity on this lane. It's something that I've been passionate about and have talked about intermittently on the podcast or in my social media or anything like that, where, and I actually credit you for this, where we're applying the personal development strategies that we've learned with our children. So to give you an example, Rob was an early adopter of Tony Robbins in the 80s, okay? And when I met him, he had done like 10,000 Tony Robbins events, and, we did one together. And I remember being on walks, or we'd go to the park with Demi, who's now 24. And at the time she was 6. And like any 6-year-old, I don't want to walk. I'm tired of walking, blah, 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 all that stuff. and she would get into a crappy state. And Rob, knowing that Tony Robbins talks about if you want to change your state, you have to move your body, he would get her to move her body, do jumping jacks. He'd get silly with her. He would do something to trigger a state change. And so seeing you apply strategies like that with Demi was the seed, right? And then when Demi was here and we interviewed her, she recited the Tony Robbins, I am the voice, whatever that is. I don't know what to call it. Mantra, I guess.
Affirmation-y kind of thing.
But she recited that, and that's something
Incantation is what he calls it.
That's something you taught her at 5 years old, and she can still recite it. And so I actually am taking the nod from you when we had Sophia. And when Sophia was little, again, going back to the move your body, when she would get in a crappy state, I had these cardboard snowflakes, like 5 cardboard snowflakes. And I would give her those, or I'd give her a stuffed animal. And when she was in a crappy state, I'd say, okay, let's change your state. And she was allowed to throw them in the air and just let them land, which was hysterical to her at 3 years old. Or throw a teddy bear and let it land. Things that, you usually don't let your kids throw teddy bears around the house or whatever. So that would change her state. And we have been doing this since she was born, and even with Demi, right? Planting these seeds and trying to impart on them information that we think will be good and build a toolbox. Because kids right now, I don't know any 20-year-old that's not talking about overwhelm, anxiety, stress. More and more kids, children are being put on drugs for anxiety and all these things, and they're not being taught any tools to actually combat the stresses of life. And I don't want to take that road with Sophia. I just don't want to do it. And so instead of just dabbling in talking about this periodically, I want to go all in. And I also miss writing and blogging. I used to blog years ago. And I don't know that anyone reads them anymore. I think they do. So I want to go back in. Really? You decided that was a good time?
I didn't know it was going to make that noise. My mic was in the wrong direction.
So I want to go back into blogging, back into writing, and I want to share in this lane. And it dawned on me, one of the first things I wrote is, why wait until your child has a midlife crisis to shift? And me, you, many people listening to this episode and listen to our podcast, they are in some stage of their life where they're looking for better. They're looking to design their life. They're looking to create a dream life. They want to escape whatever job they got into when they were younger and transition into something else. And why would we go through all of this? Why would we learn all these personal development strategies once the pain was strong enough in our late 30s, 40s, or even 50s? Why would we set our kids up for that same exact life? Why wouldn't we teach our kids the tools that we now know to help with combating stress and designing their life? I look at Demi, and by osmosis, she has taken jobs that allowed her flexibility. Her job allows her to travel. She loves to travel. This is by osmosis that she has created and designed the life where she has time freedom. She is still employed by a company, but she doesn't have a ceiling on her pay, and she has massive time freedom and location freedom. You and I were chasing that for so long. She, at 24 years old, has it. That's life-changing. And I think she has it because we talked about it so much.
You're actually triggering a couple of things in my head as you're describing this. So at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do, those of us in the world of personal development or dreaming bigger or playing bigger or dream life, whatever it is that we're after, we're in the end, in order to make the goal that we're after happen, there needs to be a change.
Mm-hmm.
of something that we're doing that is either a blind spot with limiting beliefs, or blind spot with strategy, or a blind spot with confidence, or imposter syndrome, or whatever those things that we're trying to overcome. And very often I think that because it's hard enough to do for ourselves, we get lost in trying to do it without our spouse, and we look at it as a solo project. But once we get on the other side of it, there's a skill set that we've learned on how to do certain things, and not passing that skill set on in an intentional way to your kid, I think will set them up for problems later on in life, or certainly can. Give an example. When more recently, when COVID happened, it really fucked with my head, and it moved me into anxiety and panic that I had never had in my life. I was never somebody that had anxiety and panic. And as a result, the way through that was transcendental meditation. It made a huge, huge difference in how I see things. And so, now I am working with our 24-year-old daughter to teach her transcendental meditation. But to your point, proactively, something like that, even at my age of 56, where I'm realizing this recently, it's not just a Tony Robbins thing that I learned in the 80s. It's something that I'm still learning. I mean, we're always evolving. But having the ability to take, something that's a bit more complex like that, but plant the seeds to how important, which is what you're doing right now by teaching her meditation, that's age appropriate,
right,
for where she is. Why not, instead of just being, dad had panic, dad went to TM, full stop, why not take the lessons and apply it, or use it, or teach it to your children to help them?
right. Like, why not build if you are someone in personal growth and development, if you are constantly learning, you're reading books, and you're gaining knowledge, why would we not impart this knowledge on our kids? Why would we say, wait till you're 50 and your life falls apart too, for you to be able to start doing this? Another example, I'm reading The Latte Factor with David Bach, and he's talking about an IRA, and he's talking about building long-term wealth from an early age. And now the girl in the book, I think, was 26 or 28, that in this fictional story that he tells. And she's right around our older daughter's age, and our older daughter has a great job. And so I immediately called her and I was like, you have to start doing this. You need to listen to this book. It's going to speak to you. And if you begin now, you will be wealthy beyond your wildest dreams when you're closer to retirement. Take this action now. I wish I had this book when I was 24. And then I went, I'm not stopping there. I'm going down to the little one. And I am going to, like, if at 24 she'd be wealthy, the little one's 7. What's she going to be if we set her up this way? And so I opened an IRA for her, and I started talking about stocks with her. I just figured out this year how the stock market works, okay? This isn't something I was told about. I wasn't taught about it. It wasn't talked about in my family. I mean, I know my dad has investments, but I literally know nothing about it. I figured it out this year, okay? And so my little one, if you haven't seen my reel, I did a reel on it. It was great. I said, here's what we're going to do. We pay her as a part of our business. And because obviously she's on this podcast, she's in all of our photos, and we can pay her as an employee. So we do. That money, instead of it just sitting in a savings account, I said, you know what? We're going to put a portion of this into an IRA for her. And we're going to open an IRA for Sophia. But I'm not going to just pick random stocks, or, we'll put some safe things in there, index funds or whatever. But I'm going to teach her about it. So it's not going to be something I open for her that later, when she's smart enough to understand it, then I'll tell her she has it. No. I said, Sophia, I'm opening an account. We're going to put money in. I'm going to give you $500 to buy any stock in any company you want. And she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, think of it like ownership, but like not really. Like you're invested in the company.
Mm.
You love the product. You use the product. And I said, what company would you love to invest in? It was easy for her. She was like, Roblox. I was like, let's do it. So I walked her through the process of taking $500 in her IRA and investing it in Roblox. It was fun for her. It was exciting for her. And now she's watching her money grow and she's understanding what she put $500 in. And I'm telling you, I think she has $1,200. Like that one, don't take this as a stock tip. I don't know what I'm talking about. She literally, I asked my 7-year-old. So,
Well,
but
you do know what you're talking about. You know that you have a child that has a passion for a business. You're investing in the business that you know has a market, and
right.
consequently, the business is going out. You have as much of
Right.
a
Right.
you have as much of an insight as anybody
up,
else.
and it's going up. Versus, Sophia, I put money in this real estate index fund. And like she'd be like, I literally don't care. But the Roblox, she wants to see how much money she's making, you know? And so my point in telling you this story is that when I take a piece of information in, here's my gift. When I get a piece of information that means something, I put it into action. And I'm not just putting it into action for me. I'm thinking about who in my life needs this piece of information and would change their life and how they could use it, including my friends, my family, my daughters, everybody. And especially in the kids. Like at night, now Sophia and I do a meditation. She's not at a stage in her life where she's going to sit and do 20 minutes of TM. We're not there yet. What we are doing, though, is a Cosmic Kids meditation, which is a guided meditation specifically for kids that are imaginative, creative, and she sleeps so much better with that. And she asks for it now. She wants to do a meditation before bed. And so these tools, when she hits the point of older, this is what I realized, Rob, on our interview with Demi. We planted seeds. Those seeds did not flourish when Demi lived in our house. Those seeds were still in the ground, and there was maybe a tiny little poke of green sticking out on some of the seeds.
That green sticking out was a middle finger, but
it
yeah,
was
go
a middle,
ahead.
Right? But now, 24 years old, those seeds are now sunflowers.
Mm-hmm.
And she's adopting not all of them, but slowly. But they are a part of who she is. And so I'm making the investment in my child's toolbox to plant the seeds, even if they don't flourish right now, to give her the tools that I know she'll need through life. Because later in Sophia's life, when she's in high school or maybe college and she has overwhelm or stress or whatever, she can tap back in and go, I need to meditate. I need to clear my head and meditate. We've started journaling for the trash can. We've started affirmations. There's so many tools that this 8-year-old, just turned 8, has in her toolbox at 8 years old that I didn't have in my toolbox at 40.
Well, what you're doing, it's interesting. There's a book by Jack Canfield called Success Principles. It's a big, giant doorstop,
which we made Demi read.
As
a punishment.
And, yeah, every time she got in trouble, it was probably not the greatest parenting. But what you are doing is you're taking success principles and you're applying them to age-appropriate things that's a good book idea for you.
Yeah.
You're applying to them for kids. Okay, so for people that want to learn more about, people have kids and they want to get some insight onto some things that they can do, what should they do?
Well, the first thing they should do is follow me on social media at Kim Murgatroyd, mostly on Instagram. The second thing would be, I do have a website. It's not up yet. So hopefully by the time this podcast launches, we can drop it into the show notes. It's Dream Life for Kids. It's either the number 4 or the spelled out word 4.
You did both?
I did both.
Look at you,
Look at
smarty
that.
pants.
And hopefully that will have be completed and have some different blogs and tools. And I have also modeled a children's journal. I've written a children's journal gratitude journal, a daily gratitude journal. You mentioned in another episode the 5-minute journal. I've created one for a parent and a child to do together. And can I talk about that for one quick sec?
Yeah.
So here's how this happened. During COVID, that 2020, when we're all trapped, Sophia Rob's in panic. Your kids imprint on what you have. So Rob's in panic. Sophia's on Zoom school. I'm overwhelmed. The world seemingly is burning. And the energy in the house was not great. And so I bought this children's journal that I found on Amazon, and we started doing it. A couple days into it, Sophia was like, Mommy, I want you to write too. And so we found, it's like a small journal, like 6x9. Sophia would draw a line down the middle, and we'd have to cram everything in for each question with 2 people on one page that was supposed to just be for the kid. And we did this. And now if you look at this journal, it's such a keepsake to see what we were thinking about and what we were grateful for. But what it did for us is it gave us 5 minutes at night to connect in positivity. So we would go to bed with a full heart in a happy place. And it would share about each other. We would share about our life and what we were feeling. And it was such a good connection point. So I wanted to start that again. And I went to go buy the journal, and I was like, I don't want to buy this damn journal because I want it to have a place for both of us to write. And then ding, my entrepreneur brain goes off, and I was like, why don't I just make my own fucking journal? And so I did. And in 1 week, I had a journal completed, KDP print on demand, and in my house in 1 week. And of course, I had to modify some things, and I'm still working on that, but that will be available. If my website is up, that will be on it and available too. I created 4 different covers for kids' different interests with space or cats or whatever. And I think that's a really good, useful tool. Another thing that's a little different about this journal, Sophia hated that the other journal asked the same exact questions every day, and it was redundant and boring to her. When we did this journal, there's 7 days worth of different questions. So each day of the week has different questions, and then we repeat the week. So it's not as redundant, and it'll be a really great keepsake. So a little plug for that there. So dreamlife4kids.com will be the website where you can get all of that.
Well, your husband is super proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
You are
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, that's it, everybody. And is there anything else? Do we cover it? Do we do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 things that I would say is, one, my incredible husband, which I'm blown away every day by what you do for our family, has decided to open up 2 more coaching spots in his schedule. We're here and we value our time, we value our family time, and we want to give back in work, but sometimes there's time conflicts there. And when we moved here, he said he was only going to take 5 clients, and now he has 8 clients, and he's bumping it to 10. So he has 2 spots open for his coaching. It's a 6-month coaching program, high performers that want to either transition careers or actually you have people with brick and mortar businesses that just want to create more time freedom and efficiency so they can play bigger in other areas of life, not just business. And you got so many things, business and life coaching all wrapped in one. No one does it better than you. So I'm plugging you for that. If you want those spots, it's Work Hard, Play Hard.
Actually, just look in the show notes. There's a link right there.
All right. There you go.
That's it, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.